This couldn't have worked out better for Wales in terms of the playoff draw. Being at home in the semi-final, they knew, because of their sort of successes over the last Nations League campaign and genuinely in UEFA competition anyway, they were always guaranteed a semi-final spot at home. What we've now learned today, it's going to be Finland at home. I think Wales will be happy with that. They in the last qualifying campaign for the World Cup, they were playing Finland, and they did pretty well against them then. Also, as well, now the draw went on. It was, as always with the way with things with UEFA and FIFA, they do these draws, they sometimes can be a little bit complicated and confusing, but it emerged then that they knew they were going to play the winner of Poland or Estonia. Just where? Well, they drew that lot for a home game for Wales. So that is a home semi-final in the semi-finals against Finland, and then if they were to win that, they'll be at home in Cardiff against either Poland or Estonia. Listen, if you're going on the form book, you're probably realistically looking at it's going to be Poland in a final in Cardiff. But I think Wales's record at the Cardiff City Stadium is absolutely phenomenal. The only defeat that I can recall in the last qualifying campaign was a shock defeat against Armenia. Before that, you've got to go back quite a long way. They've got a very, very good record at home. 33,000 sell out the red wall. It is the proverbial 12th player on the pitch for them. So I think Rob Page, I'll hopefully be speaking to him in the next 45 minutes or so. He'll be really, really pleased. And Hayley, you take the disappointment of the last couple of games in the qualifying campaign, because it was in Wales's hand to qualify automatically. I think the big disappointment came when they couldn't get a win in Yerevan last Saturday night against Armenia. They only got a draw. And they then probably realistically thought, right, we're probably going into the playoffs, because the combination of results on Tuesday night of Wales beating Turkey and then Croatia dropping points against Armenia at home, unlikely. But we were always worried, was a team like Italy, was a team like the Czech Republic going to drop into the playoffs? They didn't. They then knew it was going to be either Ukraine, Iceland or Finland. They've got Finland. I think Wales know they've got the beating of them. And then in a final, a straight shootout to see who goes to Germany next summer. Wales against Poland, if they do the job in that semi-final. So Wales, Rob Page and the other members of the FAW who've gone over to UEFA HQ in Neon, they will have difficulty in concealing smiles, I think, at this draw. It's worked out very, very well for them. Just to reiterate as well, I think you've already done it, but those games don't happen anytime soon. March 21st, the semi-final, March 26th, the final. So still some wait to go, which is a little bit of a disadvantage. Everyone else is preparing for Germany next year, who's got there. The three teams that will now make up the full cohort of teams there, they've got to wait until March. That's the only disadvantage. But I think at this moment in time, Hayley, Wales will take that.
How much will they take from the fact that they did it for the World Cup, didn't they? And when you look at the previous games playing against Finland in the Nations League as well, they beat them, of course, twice. When you bring in sort of history and where they've been before, you take that into consideration as well and draw from that, as you mentioned, rather than potentially just these past few games which have been disappointing.
Yeah, the past few games were disappointing in terms of results. I think they'll take great joy from the performance against Turkey on Tuesday night. A lot of young players have been pushed through into this side during this qualifying campaign. The first qualifying campaign for Wales without Gareth Bale in over a decade. You take him out the equation, that's a big, big loss. Plus some young players, 19-year-old Jordan James, 23-year-old Ethan Ampadu, who's really, really starting to mature as a player. Leeds United are doing him the power of good with his development. 22-year-old Brennan Johnson. Tottenham don't spend 50 million quid on a player if they don't think there's some talent there. So you've got some real young players coming through for Wales. So some results which not great. However, what Rob Page and his backroom staff and a lot of the players in the squad have got, as you mentioned there, they've got experience of getting to a major tournament through the playoffs. The last tournament they got to, the World Cup last year, they did that through a playoff. A semi-final at home against Austria, they won that. They then had a final playoff. That was at home against Ukraine, and they won that. So they know how to do it. And they've been blessed, haven't they, with the way that the draw has fallen, because it's always been at home. Home last time round for the World Cup playoff, now potentially potentially 2 home fixtures in the semi-final and a final to get to the Euros next summer in Germany. So they've got that experience. They know how to do it. I think ideally, when I spoke with Rob Page an hour or so after full time on Tuesday night after the Turkey game, Page was jumping around like he was still full of energy. He wants to play that playoff now. If he could do it in a week or 2 weeks' time, he would take that. He wants to be playing for this spot in the Euros right now. He's got to have some patience and wait until March. That is probably the only downside you can see of this draw today. It's worked out, on paper. Football's not always played on paper, is it? But on paper, this has been a good morning for Wales.